The next movie I saw this week was Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. Now, I don't know if anybody knows about this because I really hadn't heard anything about it before seeing it. I was actually originally going to see Elemental this week. But then a friend of mine, Dizzy, they wanted to go see this movie. Hey, Dizzy, there you are in chat. And so, yeah, I changed plans, went ahead and saw this one. Now, if you have seen Turning Red, then you've probably seen, like, most of the important parts of this movie. Because this movie, like, I got the feeling that when they were producing it, they got wind of what Pixar was doing with Turning Red and just kind of copied that. Because it's about a teenage girl who basically, you know, as a metaphor for puberty, discovers that she can turn into a big monster. And, you know, and a lot of it is, like, her mom was, like, hiding the truth from her about it. And so, like, all of those kind of beats, you know, the controlling families and lies and stuff like that, ultimately ending in everyone becoming a big giant monster, you know, to help save the day. That's how it played out in Turning Red, and that's pretty much how it plays out here. But unlike Turning Red, you can really feel the lack of a budget in this movie. This movie has a budget of like $73 million, and it looks really sparse. So here you can see Ruby in her Kraken form. Now, Ruby is always a Kraken. Here she is when she's just like in her teenage form. So her family, they're Krakens, but they moved from the ocean because her mom didn't want her to become the giant Kraken protector of the ocean. She wanted to protect her. And so they just tell everyone that they're Canadian, and that's why they've got blue skin. Here you can see her in Kraken form. I quite like her design, but one of the reasons I pulled up this image is just to kind of give you an idea of what all of the ocean shots look like. Because they're all pretty much undetailed and flat like this. There's just a real lack of any kind of sensation of depth to the ocean shots. The most you might get is like a kelp forest, or like when she goes to the Kraken City, you know, at least there's, you know, stuff there. But for a lot of this movie, anytime she's in the ocean, anytime there's an underwater shot, it just feels like, oh well, they did about what they could with the budget on this one. And the world building itself, likewise, is pretty thin. Like, they established that the Krakens are the protectors of the ocean, and like she's part of a royal lineage. Like, her grandma is the queen of the Krakens, and so her mom is, you know, heir to the throne, and then she's heir after that. But, you know, her mom just wants to go off and be a realtor in an oceanside town. And I was actually wondering, I'm like, well, if you wanted to raise Ruby away from the water so that she wouldn't turn into a giant Kraken when she goes in the water, why would you still live in an oceanside town? But they mentioned, oh, we still needed the, you know, the moisture in the air, because I guess, you know, they are undersea invertebrates, so they probably would dry out pretty quickly in Arizona. These are her friends and her love interest in the movie, and like you can probably just kind of get the vibe of who these people are from looking at them, and that's about really all of the development that they get. They're very paper thin, and like it's one of those things where, you know, one of those coming of age stories where like a teenager learns something new and finds some like new interest and like gets a new friend and starts like neglecting their old friends. And I would have liked a little bit more runtime in the movie to have more scenes of like explicitly doing that, and have like at least one more scene of like her friends confronting her for blowing them off. But oftentimes it's just played off as she's off in the ocean doing training to be the giant Kraken, and her friends might be sending her texts that she's ignoring. And then this guy is her love interest, and he's got literally no personality other than he's the love interest guy, right? Very paper thin characterization. They really wanted to focus more on Ruby doing her krakening thing. And this girl, whose name I can't remember, I really can't remember any character's name other than Ruby, but she's a mermaid who shows up posing as the new girl, and she wants to be Ruby's bestie. once she finds out Ruby is a Kraken. But we find out that actually mermaids and Kraken are mortal enemies. She's actually the mermaid queen who is trying to manipulate Ruby into getting a big trident. She says it's like, oh, it was the trident that was designed to kill Krakens, but if you can dig it out, we could use it as like a symbol of unity and unite the peoples, when really she just wants Ruby to get her the trident so she can become a giant kaiju and kill the Kraken. But you know, she's pretty standard, like, nice girl, mean girl trope. One thing that bugs me about her is that, like, I like the concept of the pretty girl being the villain and the monsters, you know, the more grotesque ones being the good guys. But they end up not going that route. Like, this is the mermaid. Once she gets the trident, she turns giant and monstrous herself. And I don't know, I feel like that kind of undermined it. Because, you know, for a movie that was trying to turn it on its head and say, oh no, the mermaids are the bad guys, the Kraken are actually the good guys here, I feel like there was probably a message you could have had in there of, you know, just because they're pretty doesn't mean they're good. But then once I mean, it's a very cool design, don't get me wrong, I like it, but they still make her like a big monster that Ruby has to fight at the end. And even if she was still giant, but like just was a giant version of a mermaid, like, you know, when you're watching Power Rangers and the guy shoots the ray at the bad guy to make him giant, so they all have to get in their Zords and fight him. It doesn't need to be more monstrous and designed to do that. She could just be a giant mermaid. And I think I would have preferred that. It's fine. It's forgettable. Once it comes out on streaming, your kid wants to watch it, it's probably a fine movie for them. It's definitely not one of DreamWorks' better movies, and it really shows its low budget in this one. So Dizzy says there's a lot of YouTube jokes. The dad does ASMR. Yes, there is quite a lot of humor involved with like live streaming and YouTube creation and stuff like that. Like, there's a character who is like your stereotypical like old, you know, sea dog. He's like, oh, I've been hunting the Kraken for like 30 years, but he's got like a live stream going on where he's talking about it. And at the end, when he actually has to help the Kraken to fight the mermaid, he like does an apology video. And I was with Dizzy and I'm just like, oh, he should pull out a ukulele right now. Freddy says, so it's just for kids? Pretty much, yeah. It's a kids movie. It's there's no like major deeper themes to it. Nothing like Pixar tries the pretense of. Pixar doesn't always get that, you know, obviously, but this didn't really try for any like deeper messages. And also, once like Ruby saves the town from the mermaid and like just shrinks back down for like prom, everyone immediately accepts her, and like all of her friends, you know, immediately forgive her for blowing them off. All of the plot points in this movie are pretty paper thin and resolved pretty quickly. It felt like it needed a bit more running time to fully develop all of that plot, but you know, it's okay. I'm probably not gonna watch it again, but it was fine. Hey, thanks for watching. I'm trying to get my channel monetized, so your view means a lot. Don't forget to toss me a like and subscribe and ring the bell. I stream these reviews every Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, so catch me live and join in on the convo. You can find all my socials in the description below, and thank you to all my patrons with a special shout out to Piftle Cakes. Your support means the world. Catch you next time.